Business is booming. But you know what really helped? Xero, the accounting platform for small businesses. I used to think spreadsheets were just part of it. Ugh. But real-time cash flow? Wow. Invoices that chase themselves? Even better. Books that automate? That's a big one. And I can keep track from my phone while I get the job done. No spreadsheet in sight. What a life. Do right by yourself and your business and search XERO for your free trial. Conditions apply. Business is booming. But you know what really helped? Xero, the accounting platform for small businesses. I used to think unpaid bills were just part of it. Ugh. But batch payments? Wow. Automated accounts payable? Even better. All in one place. That's a big one. And I can keep track from my phone while I get the job done. No bills in sight. What a life. Do right by yourself and your business and search XERO for your free trial. Conditions apply.
Are your ad campaigns lighting up the dashboard, but not the pipeline? That's bullspend, and marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
My boss asked for results, so I opened my dashboard for the only positive-sounding metric I had: impressions.
Cut the bull spend. See revenue, not just reach. LinkedIn delivers the highest return on ad spend of major ad networks. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tech Magic. I'm your host, Cathy Hackle. This is the podcast where we talk about innovation, tech, AI, spatial computing, space technology as well, everything in between. And I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Lee Keebler. Lee, how you doing? I'm back.
You're back. Where were you? Because, usually, and maybe I did, and I just was busy and I missed it, but usually I get a message of like, hey, I'm going to be out of town. I can't do that. And then you preface that with like, where the heck you're going. And we started the show last week and I was like, oh my gosh, I have no idea where Cathy went to.
So I was in Costa Rica visiting my family because my parents are down there, my brother. And the funny thing is my dad and my brother, who are active listeners of the podcast, thank you, Daddy and Juan Carlos for being listeners. My dad's like, how come Lee doesn't know where you are? And I'm like, it was so funny. I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess I didn't say I was in Costa Rica. But my dad, adores you. My dad and my brother think you're brilliant. My dad sent you some coffee from Costa Rica, Lee. So big shout out.
That's amazing. I am so hyped about that. We can end the podcast now. I will give you my address. Just send me the coffee.
Send me the coffee. Send me the coffee. So
absolutely amazing. I want to go to Costa Rica. It's on my list of I've talked to you about this, of places that I haven't been. And it's a real shame because it's a beautiful place. And it's kind of sometimes in our time zone. So it wouldn't even be that hard of an adjustment. It's on my list of places to go. And I'm thinking when the weather in Portland gets really crappy, I should just go down to Costa Rica.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, my dad's totally going to reach out to you now and be like, hey, you're welcome to come whenever you want. You can use our beach house.
Hey, I'm up for it. It sounds great.
So that'll be, but yeah, if you ever want to come down for sure. But yeah, it was super fun. I was just there for a week with my kids, going to the beach, spending time with the fam, seeing friends. I saw some of our friends that you and I worked with at Journey when we were at Journey. So they were good. But yeah, it was fun. I did share some news on the WhatsApp channel here and there, but obviously I was focusing on family. I did take some time to shoot some content at a studio for all the technology and future of love and dating kind of stuff that I'm doing on Instagram. So yeah, it took some time to record some really good content that's will be coming out soon. So just overall, really good. Very, very good.
That's great. Well, this weekend, the band that I play in, we played the coolest festival that I never knew existed. It was called Shady Pines Festival. It happens in Sandy, Oregon. And when I say this is the most picturesque location for a music festival, it was amazing. It was gorgeous, surrounded by the tallest evergreen trees that you could see that cut through. You're really close to Mount Hood. Amazing musicians. Definitely a place that I want to go back to. We had a great show. It was a lot of fun. It was just a really good time to kind of unplug, get away from, I think, all of the tech news and everything that's going on, and just go do something that I would normally just enjoy doing with just nothing else looming from it. It was just a great weekend to kind of unplug and get away from that.
Oh, that's great. I feel like I was doing the same on the beach,
Yeah, of course.
I was totally chilling, had a great time. And by the way, for anyone that's just listening and not watching this on YouTube, you're actually repping your band.
Yes, I am. We have new t-shirts. So I was like, you know what? I can do this.
Wearing your swag. I like it. So, Cool Era. Why is it Cool Era, not Cool Era?
I don't know, other than probably a domain name issue. It's okay. So like conceptually, I'm a DJ. I come from like the hip hop genre of music, and hip hop goes back to classic jazz music, samples that music and makes new music, right? Like that's kind of like how hip hop's always been. Cool Era as a concept goes back. We're a huge band. We're like it depends on how many people we have play, how big a stage, but it can go upwards of 8 to 10 people. We have all live instrumentation. And so we actually go back to old jazz standards, take pieces of those old jazz standards and actually play them as new music with 2 MCs and a DJ and drummer, bass, horn. So it's like the name comes from the cool era of jazz getting reimagined as kind of like new music. And it's just a fun band.
Let me ask you this before we go into the news, because I've been thinking, and I did a lot of videos on the beach about this, I kept thinking about with everything that's coming our way, or like everyone, like all the big AI CEOs are like, oh, this is going to be replaced. This is going to be replaced. This job is going to be replaced. All these sorts of things. Like I'm doubling down on human. I think human is the premium. And as someone in the music industry, and I know you guys, the last episode was really focused on, you guys talked a lot about music and AI, but you play in a band. Like, do you think that will go away? I just feel like live entertainment, human, like even like sports. I feel like sports, dancing, like all these sorts of things, spending time on the beach with family. Like I feel like all these really human things that are IRL, like in real life, are not going to go anywhere. I feel like we will continue to seek out those things.
For me, it is the argument, and I've said this many times on the podcast, the argument of the difference between content and art, right? And if your whole perspective of like your medium focuses around making content, yes, that will change in time. You made a bunch of content while you were in Costa Rica, but that is content. That's not necessarily art, right? Like that's content for your social media, and AI will expedite that. But for me, especially from the music perspective, music is inherently, and I mean this in a good way, flawed. It is the flaws in music that often make the music even more meaningful. It is the areas that it's taking pain from or joy from, and you're creating music and you're creating lyrics. And you can look back at, like, let's say Bob Dylan. Perfect example. Not a great vocalist, fantastic, prolific songwriter, really great musician, great entertainer, great philosopher. Would AI ever come to the conclusion to make a Bob Dylan style song if Bob Dylan had never existed? I would argue probably not.
Probably not. No, because he's not the traditional kind of, he doesn't fit in that box necessarily, right?
And a lot of artists don't fit in those boxes. Eminem is another one that I go to a lot, right? Like Eminem has kind of a very grating voice and is a very interesting writer. Whether you like the content of his lyrics is up for debate. But as a writer and as an artist, you can't deny there is nobody like him. But that's just kind of how I think a lot of art is. I say the same thing about writers. I don't think that AI would ever write a single story that would be even anywhere in the ballpark of like a Stephen King, right? Who does make pop fiction. It is popular fiction. We're not talking about literary deep writing, although I do think some of his stuff is fantastic. So I'm not worried about that. The areas that get tricky are when people start utilizing it as a shortcut to mass produce volume, because we have a broken industry that cannot handle a massive amount of content being generated. Before AI, Spotify proved that we had this problem just because we allowed so many people to generate music and get it online, and then all of the labels couldn't actually divvy up royalties properly through performance rights organizations. And that's all a bunch of heady, nerdy music business stuff that you don't need to understand. I'm just saying we already knew this was going to be a problem. And now the idea of AI generating music to just put it out online is going to exacerbate that and make that even worse. YouTube is already making policy changes. We hinted at this. This is now something that's gone in play, where YouTube is making policy changes of saying, okay, you can't monetize your AI stuff unless you have some real human thought. You can leverage it, which is good, because I've leveraged AI to make samples legally that I can then put into music. Oh, I need a trumpet sample that kind of sounds like this, but I don't want to actually use a sample and then go get it cleared. You can do that with AI. I actually think that's a perfectly good use case for it. But then you have some artists who are just kind of like churning out slop. Same thing we're seeing everywhere else. And I do think I don't think the industry can stomach it. That's going to be really impactful. So we're going to have to start flagging it. That goes really well with our first story. That is not on the list.
Hold on. I want to do a side note. Lee, I want to do a side note because you mentioned Eminem, and my son is like the hugest Eminem fan. Most of the kids his age, they're listening to CDs and they love Eminem. Like, it is so crazy, the resurgence.
The resurgence of CDs is insane. My band typically plays to a little bit more of a more mature audience. Like, we're kind of definitely Gen Z and older, and definitely lean towards the older Gen Z side of things. And we find it painfully, like, people want our Spotify links 100%, but it's even hard to give away a CD because no one has a player in their car, right? So we have hit this question of like, well, what merch do we make other than t-shirts? Because it used to be like, oh,
here's a CD.
Yeah, a bunch of CDs, and that was part of it. And that is so shifted that we get more people inquiring if we have cassette tapes, which is super weird.
Cassette tapes, like, oh my gosh, I don't even know. Like,
I can't play one, but cassette tapes have gotten so trendy in Portland. That is the most hipster crap.
That's kind of cool. I love that it's so retro. Future retro. I love that. I love that.
45s got really popular in the last 3 years.
Tell people what 45s are, because like, I think most people. What is a 45?
Most people have to be over 45 to know what a 45 is.
That's funny because you say 45. I don't even know what a 45 looks like. Like, if you say it, I know it's like some type of thing where people used to play music, but like, I don't even know what it looks like. What does a 45 look like? Let's see. Lee's like reaching out to, you have a 45?
All right, I'm back. So this is a 45.
Oh, those are the little ones. The ones they put in jukeboxes?
Yes, they belong in jukeboxes. They contain normally one song on one side, one song on the other side. That's where we get the concept of the B side, right? The A side was the single. The B side was not the single, but it was still a hot song on the album. And they were basically promotional in jukeboxes so you could sell albums. This particular one is Prince and the Revolution. The A side is obviously Raspberry Beret, and the B side is She's Always in My Hair. So this has gotten a big resurgence in like the last 3 years. It's small. It's something that you can like put in a frame or something like that. But we are seeing these old pieces of technology all of a sudden kind of come back.
So my dad used to have a jukebox with a whole bunch of those, like 45s, I guess. And my mom gave it away one day. And my dad was so bad. I wish we still had that, because it was like, had tons of like really good music.
I would be so upset.
He just this week he was talking about it. He was like, I can't believe she gave away my jukebox. I was like, no one was using it. Anyway, but talking about stuff, I think let's start here with some things happening with Candy Crush Studio. Microsoft-owned game studio King reportedly laid off around 200 employees, many of whom helped develop the AI tools that replaced them, particularly in level design, UX, and narrative writing.
Yeah, this is going to keep happening. It's going to keep happening. I've had a lot of conversations in like the last 2 months about people who are developers or more on the tech side going, oh God, what do I do on this? There is a path. It's not necessarily the path I think a lot of people expected. And I don't even know how long it's sustainable, but we are going to continue to see, I think, these type of things happen. But again, let's be very clear. This is Candy Crush. Popular game, not a deep narrative, right? We're not talking Legend of Zelda here.
Not a lot of storylines.
Yeah. So the fact that the narrative writing could be replaced by AI, not shocking. The UX, it's not changing that much. Level design, I kind of get it when it comes to something that is as content focused, not art focused. I do believe video games are art. Do I think Candy Crush is art? Not necessarily. You know what I mean?
I don't think people go to Candy Crush because of the...
I wouldn't think so.
Yeah, I don't know. I've played it several times, but I didn't really go because of the artistic... Like, I don't know. Like,
right.
It's like mind-numbing for me. I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, I didn't go there for the art.
I do think these games can be art. One of my favorite versions of Tetris is called Tetris Connect, and it is 100% about the music that you're playing along with. And that was a very specifically curated video game for the music. If that had just been AI generated music, it wouldn't have had the impact that it had. It was the fact that it came from this particular composer, and this composer really thought about how they wanted to present their music. It's an incredibly dynamic soundtrack. The soundtrack is almost as good, if not better, than the game itself. So I'm not saying these puzzle games can't be art. I'm just saying I'm not surprised that Candy Crush would go down this path.
Yeah. So it does, my heart does go out to like people that were replaced by AI. And I agree with you. I think it's going to continue. We're going to continue to see it. So far, no AI is replacing our podcast just yet. So I think we're okay. But, things are going to get interesting in the next couple of months.
Speaking of gaming and AI, you inspired me to come up with my own experiment.
Tell me, what did you do?
So obviously I am not going down the route of like dating an AI.
No, you're a married man. I love your wife more than I love you. So yeah.
But okay, so growing up, I was an only child and we definitely lived out in the middle of nowhere. So I didn't have like a lot of arcades or anything to go to. I always thought fighting games were really cool. Like Street Fighter was really neat.
Oh, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. Those are my go-tos. I love it. Yeah.
But I never got to play them. One, my parents didn't want me playing fighting games. And two, I didn't have anyone to play them with because I kind of grew up out in the middle of nowhere as an only child. So while I still played a lot of video games, I didn't really get into the fighting game scene. Since the new Switch 2 came out and Street Fighter 6 is now available on the Switch 2, I started playing like, oh, this is really good. And I really suck at this. Like, I'm so bad. And I'm not used to being bad at video games. I am insanely bad. And so I said, okay, how do I get better at this game? And I realized we have the Portland Retro Gaming Expo every year. It's the biggest retro gaming expo in the world. It happens in Portland, Oregon. It's going to be here in October. And they do a bunch of Street Fighter like tournaments and things like this. And so I went to ChatGPT and I said, okay, Evo is kind of the largest esports place for these types of things. And I said, take on the persona of a master champion of Street Fighter 6 from Evo. And now you have 3 months to train me to get to this status. And the output has been fantastic. Like, here's your regiments. Here's what all these stats mean. Here's what you need to do. We're going to do 1 hour a day. Like, I mean, it really took on this coaching persona to the point where it then said, and you still need to be socially involved in your community. Here are community groups that are doing this. Here are smaller tournaments that are happening. And so like it really laid out of here's how you get involved in your local community with links to the local Discord, to local tournaments and things like that. Here's your regiment to get to point A for point B. I've got 3 months. You're going to do 1 hour a day. Just do this. So I'm going to do it. I'm just going to do the 1 hour a day.
You're going to do it. So does that mean we are going to go watch you compete in the Street Fighter Championship in October?
I don't know.
Do I take the over or the under?
You take the under. Take the under.
Believe in yourself, Lee. Come on. ChatGPT believes in you.
It was just real. I mean, to the point where it helped me choose characters. It put out diagrams, like actual graphics. And I was genuinely surprised at how well it did this. I was just trying to figure out something I could do with it that would be in line with like your experiment. And that dawned on me.
I love that. Are you going to try to do it 1 hour a day? Or?
I am. That's the experiment. Yeah, that's the experiment.
The streak is going. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going 1 hour a day. I can do that at night, or I might split it up during the day or what have you. But I just want to see where the system actually takes me. No expectation that...
It's your Mr. Miyagi, right?
Yeah. Just like, can this actually improve you in something that is mildly entertaining? And I think it is a thing that a computer-generated solution system could actually help you with. Could ChatGPT actually help you become like a better guitar player? It can't hear you. So it can't play back things for you. There are things like that coaching that I don't think it can do. But this seems like it's doing really well.
That's really interesting. And I never thought about the use. I mean, because like my brother listens to the pod, like we used to spend hours with neighbors playing Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. Like it was an ongoing, like we would have like literally like tournaments at times, right? In our house or a friend's house. So that's really interesting. Well, keep us posted. I want to know, should we take the over or the under on this Street Fighter Championship? I don't know what to call it. But anyway, I want to mention this one because I think this really spoke to me. You sent it to me recently. It says, Netflix has used generative AI in El Eternauta. That's the name of the series. Netflix used generative AI for VFX in El Eternauta, creating a building collapse scene 10 times faster and cheaper than traditional methods. The co-CEO said it enhances storytelling. It doesn't just cut budgets. I think it cuts budgets first.
First off, I have to applaud you with the pronunciation of that because I was going to butcher whatever the title of this show is. I would have never even gotten close.
They do so much production in Spain, and I am a Spanish speaker, so I'm like, El Eternauta. I'm like, okay.
So according to this article, it is a budget thing. Like they did have to do this because they openly ran out, like they were running out of money. They're not the first to come to this conclusion, but this is the first to do this with Netflix. So Netflix had set a budget for some type of production. They couldn't get particular scenes for this, so they had to leverage AI in order to do this. We will see very shortly how convincing this either is or this isn't. Honestly, I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be hard to tell because AI does pretty well when it's like a building structure that has to do a thing. And it looks detailed. So unless it's a bunch of establishing shots and it's a very particular building, then it could be difficult. I don't know. But it's a budgetary cut issue. I felt like that was maybe a little disingenuous for them to say, oh, it enhances storytelling.
It enhances, yeah, no, I think that's, yeah.
No,
this is a budgetary issue, 100%. I don't think it's about enhancing storytelling.
And we're going to see it over and over again.
Oh, absolutely. This is just the beginning. Once again, if you're in the VFX industry, I don't even know what to tell you. I think good people will remain. I think we'll continue to have great VFX people, but
again, I think it'll become art, right? It'll go into the flaws of it. If I can still look at things by and large and tell you if they're AI generated, there's a sheen, there's a look to things that I'm not saying it's better than Uncanny Valley for sure. Sometimes it's very hard to tell the difference, but there's something about the movement, the fluidity, especially of AI generated film or movies, that I can still kind of see it, that I don't necessarily find like unappealing. I just know what it is. And I don't think that you're going to get the ability to have AI make original content that doesn't immediately smack of another director's vision because it's pulling its data from somewhere. So can an AI make a scene that looks like it was done by Quentin Tarantino? I'm sure. Or any other director, but could it do something on its own that is like truly unique? Where would it get that from? So I still think there's room for visionaries.
Oh, absolutely. I definitely agree with you. I think there's definitely going to be room for visionaries here. So, okay, here's another AI news that I think is important and relevant since we are talking about this. And by the way, I'll preface this by saying that you were talking about looking at the errors and the mistakes, which is really interesting because I put out some really great content I shot with a photographer in Chile. And there's a video of me walking down the streets of Chile and I'm talking about what I'm seeing and the evolution of technology. Someone in the comments on LinkedIn said, was this AI generated? It's so good. And I replied and I said, actually, no. If you look halfway through, there's a little bit where I kind of like make a little mistake in what I said. And she was like, oh, you're great on camera. But it's interesting that now in order for us to know it's not AI, we look for the mistakes. We look for the little errors that make it human.
I think it's real. And a lot of it, what I see is the fluidity and movement when I'm looking at AI generated footage. It's too smooth. In real camera technology, there's a little bit of rigidity that AI does not mimic correctly. And it's one of those things where I can't really explain it unless you see it. You know it when you see it, and you know it when it's not there. It reminds me of the time where like we started changing refresh rates on like TV monitors and all of a sudden everything looked strange and it took a little while to get used to it. It's kind of like that. It's just a weird, I don't know if a frame per second or what the deal is, because it's not dealing with an actual, it's generating footage as opposed to a camera, which has physics behind it. So yeah, there's something about it that's, I think we're not there yet.
Here's something that you also sent me and I thought was really interesting because it's about AI generated content in general. So DuckDuckGo lets you hide AI generated images. So I love this. I actually love this. I actually love that you're going to be able to do this in DuckDuckGo.
Yeah, and it should be something that is adopted across the board. DuckDuckGo, for those who know, this is not a sponsored ad. I don't get paid for them. I don't know anyone personally there. DuckDuckGo is one of those pieces of technology that should be bigger than it actually is, but because they're so focused on doing what they do so well, they don't have the marketing budget of like a Google. So like Google still kind of reigns number one, but it shouldn't. DuckDuckGo is a legitimate, really good search engine. It functions well, a lot of privacy behind it. But now with this addition of being able to filter out AI generated images, which can be done through like metadata hashing and things like that, yes, please. More of this.
More, right? I love this. I absolutely love this.
It's a really big deal. And I put that in the news articles because I felt like it wasn't getting enough attention. Like, this can be done. So go do it.
Yeah, it can be done, people. It can be done. And it's interesting. So I just got an invitation to try out Comet, which is Perplexity's new AI browser. So I'm going to check it out, see how it works out, and report back and let you guys know what I think. So we'll have to see.
I've gotten so privacy focused, and not for any other reason other than I think I grew up in that like millennial generation that was just like, oh my gosh, please stop with the ads. I use Firefox and everyone as a web browser and everyone looks at me like I'm archaic, and I'm just like, no, I don't see ads. My ad experience is so much different from everybody else's that it absolutely boggles my mind why people are still using off the shelf, like ad riddled web browsers.
Yeah, I use Firefox Focus when I don't want to get any ads or anything tracked. Like, if I'm looking at like when my brother's wife was pregnant, like, and I was looking for baby stuff, I was like, I don't want this to think like literally, because once you start it, like it'll turn into all that. I was like, yeah, no. So like I use Firefox Focus because I had like a short contract I did with Mozilla back in the day. So I love Firefox.
The Mozilla team, they're fantastic. I don't think people talk about them enough. They have one of the best privacy systems in a web browser that I've come across. And I'm telling you, when I see my web experience comparative to everybody else's, it's so different. And I know how much this sounds like an ad. It's not an ad. It's just life at this point. And the more and more that I'm starting to see all of this stuff get generated and tracked, get out of my way. Stop it.
It's too much. Oh my gosh. Well, we are going to go on break. When we get back, we have an interview with Jeff Shardell, the founder and CEO of Humble Brands, who actually used to be at Google and took all his learnings at Google in the leadership role to create a CPG brand. And he's going to talk to us about that. So I'm excited about it. And then we are going to talk about some hardware news and some gaming news. So let's go on break.
Are your ad campaigns lighting up the dashboard, but not the pipeline? That's bull spend. And marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
My boss asked for results, so I opened my dashboard for the only positive-sounding metric I had: impressions.
Cut the bull spend. See revenue, not just reach. LinkedIn delivers the highest return on ad spend of major ad networks. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
This message is brought to you by Warner Brothers Discovery Advertising. And this is more than an ad. This is an invitation to be part of the stories the world can't stop watching, to connect with moments that dominate the conversation, to participate in culture, not just advertise around it. With the most sought-after IP, passionate audiences, and an advanced AI-powered foundation, WBD Advertising transforms attention into influence and impressions into outcomes. This is innovation. This is impact. This is opportunity. This is Warner Brothers Discovery Advertising. Visit advertising.wbd.com to learn more.
Hey, Yetis, this is Nick and Jack from the Best One Yet podcast. Now, the last company we worked at, they used Paylocity and everything just worked. It wasn't until launching our own media business, this show, that we realized how rare that is.
Because Paylocity is one delicious burrito of operational needs. They roll up HR, finance, and IT seamlessly into one delicious bite.
When everything wraps together like that all at once, your workforce, your tech stack, your business, you don't need more tools. You don't even need cilantro.
You need one solution.
And that is why Paylocity built a single platform to connect HR, finance, and IT with AI-driven insights and automated workflows that simplify the complex and power what's next.
Or as we call it, a delicious operational burrito.
Yes, we do. Experience a one place for all your HCM needs, besties.
So start now at Paylocity.com/one.
Paylocity.com/ONE.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
All right, everyone. Today's guest on the podcast is someone that I actually was fascinated with the work that he's been doing. And I actually wrote an article in Forbes about him. And I was like, I need to have him on the podcast. So joining me today is Jeff Shardell, the CEO and founder of Humble Brands. Jeff, welcome to the pod.
Yeah, Cathy, thanks so much for having me today. I really appreciate it.
Amazing. I feel like I know you because I wrote that article. But I want folks to know who you are and what you've been doing because you have an amazing tech background. And now, as a founder of a brand, Humble Brands, can you tell folks a little bit about who you are, what you've been doing, and what you're doing right now?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I spent really my whole career, I'll call it my corporate career, in the tech world, the consumer tech world. Anything from back in the day, I was at the original browser company, Netscape, and where we fought the good fight against a lot of the other big tech giants back then. And then after Netscape, I ended up co-founding a company called Gloss.com. And at Gloss, this is back right about 2000, very early 2000s, when you couldn't buy beauty products online the way you can now. And we saw a market there, a need there. And the beauty of that company is people were buying replenishable products. The form factor was small. We could easily ship the products. And so we started the company. And after a couple of years, we sold it to Estée Lauder, which was a fun ride. And then I went over to Google, and there were some folks that I had worked with at Netscape who tapped me in the shoulder and brought me over to Google, which was an amazing ride. I started there. We had probably about 100 or so full-time employees. And when I left, we had tens of thousands of employees. And so it was a great ride, great time to be there. And then a good time from my own personal perspective to kind of move on and do something else.
Yeah, now you have Humble Brands, which actually, you didn't know this, but my daughter, who's 15, loves your products. She has them. So we're big fans here at the house. But when you created Humble Brands, and for folks that have not been introduced to Humble Brands, what was your primary goal when you started Humble Brands, and what do people need to know about it?
Yeah. So when I started the company, and really, even if we take a step back prior to me starting the company, I was doing a lot of mixing in my kitchen, but trying to create a better for you deodorant. But really what started that whole process is after leaving tech, I was trying to figure out ways to just detoxify my life. You know, every corporate job can be pretty stressful. And I've always been a healthy person. I've been an active person, but I started looking at other things I could do in my life to really detoxify my life, and started reading about antiperspirants and how the potential link between those that brought those ingredients in there and lymph node cancer, breast cancer, Alzheimer's disease, kidney disease, things like that. And I tried the natural deodorants that were out there at the time, and none of them worked well for me. So I decided to go in my kitchen and start mixing. And that was a couple of years before I started the company, really. But at the same time, there had been this movement, this trend that had been growing back then in the food business, right? The better for you product. And taking a lot of products that we consider kind of, our snack products and creating better versions of our snack products, right? But that really hadn't hit yet with the CPG space. And so as I started mixing, I thought, why not kind of take what's happening in the food? Because the reality is the majority of what you put on your body, on your skin, gets absorbed into your body. And people realize that now, but 10, 12 years ago, people just didn't really have that concept, or very few people did. So it is important to think about what goes on your skin, because that's going to get absorbed into your body. And so why not incorporate that same rigor from an ingredients perspective into personal care products? And then that kind of general thinking, along with wanting to create a product that actually worked for you, was what kind of came together when I created Humble.
That's amazing. And you have obviously a background in scaling businesses, right? You did that obviously with a very significant role at Google when you were there in the early days. What are some of your tactics now when you're thinking about the things you might have learned at Google and how you're implementing them with Humble Brands now?
I think a lot of it comes down to really having the right team, the right set of people. And I know people say that over and over, but boy, you can't do everything. I mean, there was a time when I started the company where I did everything. I made products in my kitchen before I started. We actually make our products in-house now, but there was a short period of time years ago where we outsourced the manufacturing. But before that, I made it in my kitchen. I packaged it. I helped develop the website. I shipped the products. I would walk to the post office every day with a little bin of product. I've done it all, but really scaling a team and getting people who are as passionate about the company and the products as I am. It's a hard thing. And not everyone is. Some people, you think they are and you realize they aren't. And maybe there's a different role, a better role for them in the company. But in the end, trying to make sure you have the right team, you scale the right team.
Absolutely. I mean, your team is so incredibly important. I wholeheartedly agree with you. You can't scale without the right people in the right place. I want to talk a little bit about how you at Humble Brands have approached working with celebrities, working with influencers, because what I find, there's a story, and we're going to get into it with a major celebrity. But let's talk a little bit about how you see the importance of marketing with influencers or celebrities and working with them, and maybe tell us that story on how a celebrity slid into your DMs.
Yeah, definitely. So if we take a step back, I don't want to bring any celebrities into the company that truly aren't believers in our product. And so prior to the celebrity that you're talking about that we're going to dive into in a minute, I started working with another fellow who was a professional surfer and professional musician, Donovan Frankenreiter, and has his own band and tours and lives in Kauai, and got to meet him that way. And he was a genuine believer and lover of our product. And so we ended up collaborating and created our Palo Santo deodorant years ago, 10 years ago. I hadn't even heard of Palo Santo back then, right? Not many people had. Now people know. So we worked together, and that was kind of my first experience in working with someone from a CPG perspective and incorporating products, working with him on products. And so again, it was an organic relationship, though. It wasn't just this paid relationship. And the reality is, people nowadays, especially with social media, are too smart. They know if someone is working with a brand just because the brand is paying them a few bucks, or oftentimes many bucks, and then that relationship is over, right? And so people can see past that. And I just didn't want to create that artificial sort of relationship because I knew people would see that. And so fast forward to a number of years ago, Jason Momoa was filming something in New Mexico, outside of Albuquerque, and kept going into a store there, buying our product. You would go in and buy it again. And finally, the store owner called me up and said, boy, this, he keeps coming in. He seems to really like your product. Maybe there's some collaboration opportunity there. And so through some people that I knew in the entertainment world, tried to reach out to him and his agent, and we never connected. So I just kind of let it go. And then fast forward 6, 9, 12 months later, I forgot the exact time frame, but fast forward a little while later, he sent a note to me through our Instagram DM and just said, hey, been using your product, love it. Let's see if we can collaborate. And so we connected, got to know each other, and decided to create a Momoa deodorant. And it was a fun process. It took about a year, come up with the scent. And part of it is he's got a busy travel schedule. And so trying to find different places, where's he going to be next? Where in the world is Jason, right? And so trying to get just a little bit ahead of his travel schedule to get the new scents to him so we could try it. And at first, he had some really interesting, very creative ideas, wanting, hey, what if we had a campfire scent or motorcycle grease scent or something like that? And we pride ourselves in the fact that our products generally are gender neutral. And so we felt that may be a little bit male leaning if we had some of those scents. Plus, it's hard to create scents like that out of essential oils. You would need fragrances for that. And we don't want to have any artificial fragrances in our product. But we ended up zeroing in on the scent that we have with him now, which is Rock Rose Cedar, which is fabulous. It's the Palo Santo scent that I mentioned that we put in place with Donovan Frankenreiter before, rose to the top and was our best seller for a long time. And now the Rock Rose and Cedar is. And the great thing is, it's wonderful having him as a partner on this product. But even without that, it's a great scent. It stands alone on its own, which is wonderful. And so we're really proud of what we've come up with together.
Well, and it seems like the perfect partnership, right? It was very organic. He loved your product. He reached out. I mean, you tried to reach out, right? But it was him that actually was like, I love this brand. So there's nothing more, especially in this, that you use the word artificial, in this day and age when so many things are artificial, including intelligence. I think that's so important that it was so organic, so real. That's why I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and they're like, what products are not going to go away? And I said, look, we're still humans in a physical world. We still need a deodorant. We still need to wash our clothes. That's not going away anytime soon because we're still humans.
That's it. When I started the company, I wanted to create something. I didn't want to just have a product that was a seasonal product. We looked at one point, bug spray. And maybe it's something we'd still look at in the future, you never know. But generally, unless you live in a warm tropical climate, it's a few months out of the year that you need to get rid of the mosquitoes, right? But deodorant's one of those things where even if it's cold out, you're still going to wear deodorant. Maybe you're not going to put 4 swipes per pit. Maybe it's 3 swipes per pit, right? But you're still going to put it on.
Absolutely. Or as a mother of a teenage boy, he needs a lot of those. So I do want to talk a little bit about how you've approached expanding beyond plastics, because I think that that's one of the reasons also that the relationship with Jason Momoa was, to me, so like perfect. So you moved from plastics into sustainable paperboard products. How has that been received by consumers, by retailers? What are you seeing out there as the newer generations are?
When we first came out with it a couple years ago, it took a while to get the traction. And if we take a step back for a second, it's been a real project of mine to try to shift away from single-use plastic. And I remember a number of years ago, there was a particular soap company, had liquid soap, and had come out with that in a pump. And it was this gray container. And it said, so it wasn't the most attractive look, but it said on there, this is made from ocean retrieved plastic. And so you took this thing that wasn't that attractive, but made a story out of it. The reason it's gray is because it was all this ocean plastic that was collected. And I thought, God, it's great to be able to look at that. And we looked into, like, there was ocean bound plastic that we were looking at getting, and people are collecting that, like the rivers that are in the developing countries, there's all this rivers of plastic going into the ocean. And we looked at that, and all those products weren't really ready for prime time. And we've been looking into a bioplastic. The company that makes our packaging for our plastic package deodorant, we got bioplastic pellets from this other company, and they tried to create and ran it through their machinery, and it's not ready for prime time yet. It came out smelly, it got deformed. Our pour process, when we make deodorant, the temperature is about 165 degrees. So that would deform the plastic even more when we poured it in there. So anyway, so we turned to something else, and we discovered the paperboard packaging. But again, all the companies that, when we started looking into it, that were making it, has still had it lined with a plastic on the inside, because you don't want the oils and the greases to seep to the outside of the paper container. And so we didn't want to do that. We felt that would just be greenwashing. And so we finally found a company that made paper products that were lined with the biodegradable natural silica instead, which is perfect. And so that's what we have nowadays. And if we even look back, though, the plastic package deodorant that we have still, that's made out of about 80% post-consumer recycled plastic. So we're trying to do the right thing there. And someday I still want to find a good bioplastic. But yeah, with Jason and his real push towards having as much of a plastic-free environment as possible, it made for natural collaboration with our paperboard deodorant. And it's great. I love it. And it's not for everyone, because a lot of people are still they want something where they can turn a little knob and it goes up. They don't like the fact that you got to put your finger up in there, push it up a bit. But I feel like that's a small price to pay for something that's a better for you package for the environment.
And I definitely see it, especially with my kids who are like teenagers. Like, they really want products that don't have as many chemicals, that are better for the environment. Like, I see it with them. So I love that. I want to talk a little bit about any advice you might have for brands that might be going into business with a celebrity personality or someone with a big name. Like, any tidbits, any takeaways or learnings that you want to share with them?
So you definitely want to, as I said earlier, make sure that there's an organic connection in that person with your product and your company, right? Not just someone who's paid for. And then beyond that, people are people. And I still think you want to make sure that you choose someone where you work well together. And back in my tech days, when we would interview people, we would have the elevator question, which is, if you're on a long elevator ride, or even worse yet, stuck on an elevator with this person you're interviewing for the job to bring into your company, do you want to be stuck in the elevator with them? Is this going to be a pleasant conversation with them, or is it going to be awkward? And so people are people in the end. And if you're going to choose to work with a celebrity, still make sure that they're just good people, enjoyable people to work with, because life's too short to work with people who are less than that.
Yeah. And what is your ultimate vision for Humble Brands? And I want to get to this one specifically, because I think you're a great example of someone that has worked, scaled businesses. You worked at Google. You did it all. Like, you sold your company, you worked at Google. You come from the tech background, and then you changed, and now you're doing something new, something different. You're taking all your tech learnings. But what is your ultimate vision for Humble Brands as you continue to scale and grow?
I always wanted to start a company that became kind of a household name, let's say. And I didn't want it to be my name on it, right? But so I didn't want to call it Shardell Company or Jeff's Company, right? Well, just a crazy thing. But the reason I want to do that then is to be able to use the power of that company to get certain messages out. Like, for example, more and more, the message of what goes on your body is important in your body. And there are a lot of companies out there that will call themselves a natural company, a natural CPG company or personal care company. And you look at the ingredient set, and there's a lot of stuff in there you don't need. They're fillers, they're preservatives, and just a lot of chemicals that maybe they're not on the banned chemical list, and therefore those chemicals can still be in a natural product. But man, you don't want to put those things on your body. So really using Humble as a platform to spread the awareness of the importance of really looking at what's in the products that you put in your body and what you put on your body. And then again, the packaging and trying to get to a point where people can look at our packaging and realize that there are alternatives. I just got back from a trip to Japan and loved it. Amazing country, beautiful people, and the food is incredible. But boy, you go into the markets and every single piece of produce is singly packaged in plastic. That just hurts my heart to see that. So if Humble and our Humble platform can in some way impact some of that change to make a difference in the future, I would love that.
Well, and I also think because you've taken this leadership in these types of paperboard products and then maybe bioplastics in the future, people will follow. That's part of that. Once someone has the courage to try to do these new things as a leader, people follow, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So I want to talk a little bit about maybe some advice you have for brands that might be going into new spaces, innovating, because I think a Humble brand not just is clean and good for the environment, but also innovative. Like, what is some of your advice for some of the brands that are thinking, I want to innovate in whichever space that they're going into?
I would say nothing is ever too big. I know it's an overused phrase, but I use it all the time still. Necessity is the mother of invention too, right? And so when things come up and you got to look at, there's so many things that happen every day where we say, there's got to be a better way. Why are we all still doing this? Why are we stuck doing things this way? There's got to be a better way. And one of the things that drives me the most bonkers is when people say, well, that's just how it's done. Like, no, I cannot stand hearing that, right? Like, let's think outside the box and figure out some different, better way to do this thing. And so that's the best advice I would give is like, always think outside the box, right? And never accept status quo as the way things should be moving forward.
And I agree with that advice wholeheartedly because I feel like you and I probably would not have the careers we've had if we had taken no as an answer. Like, no. You figure it out. You go outside and think outside the box. I do want to ask you one last question is what is next for Humble Brands? What is next for you? What's next for Jeff?
We're going to continue coming out with some different products, fun new products in the personal care space. I would love to share what those products are, but my marketing team has said, you can't talk about that, publicly announce them yet. So I'm going to hold off on that.
No exclusives, everyone. We're not getting those today.
But coming out with more products in that space. Again, we talked about packaging, and that's really important. And then from my perspective, I really want to lean into, again, we talked about empowering people on my team, right? So the more I do that, have done that and continue to do that, the more I can focus on things that excite me with Humble, right? And that would be, I still get excited by getting involved in the big sales deals and presenting those deals. I get excited going to trade shows and hearing feedback from the consumers, but also the buyers. I love the product development and working with product development we're coming out with. And then things like this, frankly, talking to people like you, I really enjoy this and just getting the word out there and trying to shout Humble in what we're doing and trying to make a difference from the top of digital mountaintops.
Fantastic. And how can folks connect with you, Jeff, or how can they find Humble Brands?
Yeah, I mean, they can always connect with me directly if they want. Scary to say this, but I can just put it out there. Pretty easy email, jeff@humblebrands.com, of course, no problem there. And we have our website, humblebrands.com, where you can go and learn a lot more about the company there.
Well, thank you for being on Tech Magic.
Yeah, thank you so much, Cathy. I appreciate it.
All right. So that was a fantastic interview with Jeff. And like you said in the interview, he partnered with Jason Momoa, who is a huge actor, of course, to create some of the most successful products. But what I love about this interview, Lee, is that Jeff has a history of scaling companies. He was at Google for a long time, early days. I just love that this is like his next career. Like he was focusing on CPG brands, creating healthy products. I don't know. I hope this interview inspires a lot of people that might be thinking about what comes next for me, because he really took a step from like tech into totally something new, but using innovation. So I hope it inspires people.
Yeah. Anytime you work in tech, you learn the lesson of the pivot. And sometimes you just have to go do something else. Like that's just the way it goes.
I love that. So let's talk a little bit about hardware news, because we always talk about hardware in this podcast. And by the way, shout out to our friend Charlie Fink and Ted over there and Roni Ababitz for the XR and AI podcast. They're doing great. They just got into the top 150, top 100 podcast.
Yeah. It's a great podcast too.
It's a great podcast. We're good friends with them. And we're actually, our podcast and theirs We're the two podcasts that recorded live at AWE. So big shout out to our friends. Maybe we'll do some cross promotion.
That'd be fun.
That would be great. So some news that came to light recently was that ByteDance, that's the company that owns TikTok, is working on a lightweight tethered Pico mixed reality headset. Pico is a brand that they acquired. They acquired it, right? A while back?
They've acquired it for a very long time. They did. Still out of China, but yes.
So ByteDance Pico XR division is developing a lightweight mixed reality headset using a tethered compute puck. So like Magic Leap similar, or Vision Pro that has like a puck similar to Meta's ultralight concept, painting a competitive future for mixed reality hardware. This, I tell everyone, the next frontier, the next horizon, in order to get the new data to train the newer models will come from this type of hardware, whether it's glasses, AirPods, jewelry, whatever it is that people are going to throw at us. The new hardware is going to be key to training those newer models.
It is. It's important from a manufacturing standpoint, especially when you look at manufacturing in the Asia market, because that's really where I think a lot of this technology is driven. I don't typically add ByteDance or Pico stories to our news list because a lot of times Pico stories are irrelevant to a lot of our listeners because you can't get it easily in the United States. You can, but they're not off the shelf. They're not something you can go to Best Buy and pick up or something like that, right? And a lot of that has to do with the fact that they are owned by ByteDance and the whole TikTok thing with the US. And then it's a sticky situation and no one knows when it will be resolved, if it will ever be resolved. So Pico's had a hard time breaking into the US market as a hardware company. The reason why I think this is important, because when Pico does put out these designs, everyone's using the same components. That's the secret to this entire industry, is the components that's in this Pico headset's the same thing that Meta's looking at. It's the same thing that everyone else is looking at, with the exception of like Apple, who's like, we're making our own silicon, so we're going to go do this and then try to figure out why things don't work. Like that's just a different story. This gives us a really good insight into what their design looks like. Some of them cost effective, that being a key term, components that are probably going to make it into our hardware, whether that's through Meta or even Big Screen has like a new update that I think they're coming out with their headset. So I like to keep an eye on these type of things because it does kind of give us a glimpse towards what other companies are probably going to do. I was really surprised to see the off the headset puck. I love this idea for two reasons. One, it does make it significantly lighter, which I think is huge. And two, I don't understand why nobody has done this. And this goes down to Magic Leap as well. When you do the puck design, it is logical to me that you would design it in a way in which that makes it now a modular, updatable system.
They did not do that. That's true. Magic Leap did not do that.
And none of them did it. Apple's not going to do it. No one does this. So if you're making a cost-effective design for maximum impact, especially if you're looking at enterprise design, why would you not keep, for lack of a better word, the HMD or the visor, whatever you want to call it, and allow people to update the puck instead of having to go through the entire thing? That never made sense. That still doesn't make sense to me, because now you have this tethered function that people don't really like. I get that it makes it lighter, but now if something breaks, you have to replace the entire thing. Like, it just make it a plug. This is not that hard, guys.
And I love that, because then the headsets don't become paperweights, right?
Right.
Or decorations on my shelf. Like, they're actually useful and you can update them a lot easier, etc.
It cuts down on e-waste. It's the right thing to do. It's not like we're seeing huge improvements of lenses and screens. I mean, we are, but to the average user, they're nominal. The 3S to the 3, unless you've been in VR a lot, the average user can't see the difference. And I know there's somebody in there and well, actually,
So people are going to get upset at you. I'm sure we're going to get a message here and there. Be like, how dare you, Lee Keebler?
You can't see the difference? No, my eyes are like over 40 years old. I can't see the difference. The screen door is gone. Just like, accept it. Stop.
Okay, so more hardware news, because we do love hardware on this pod. You know, we talk a lot about AI, but I do love that we're also talking about hardware.
We reluctantly talk about AI because we have to. I love talking about hardware.
No, I mean, I like talking about it, but I mean, I love hardware, you know, both hardware geeks here. I love this one. This is from Oakley, and Oakley had partnered with Meta. Of course, we talked about the new device that they're putting out, but this is actually perfectly aligned. This is hardware and space technology, which, as you guys know, I dabble in space. That's my joke. I dabble in space. But Oakley designs Visor for Artemis 3 moon missions. Oakley and Axiom Space are collaborating on an advanced optic visor for NASA's Artemis 3 mission. The visor features high-definition optics with gold coating, dust resistance, and a deployable design to protect astronauts during lunar South Pole exploration. I love this news. I love that it's Oakley going in. I mean, Axiom Space is also partnering with Prada. They're actually working with my friends at Nokia. Like, I like this. What do you think? And they look, I mean, at least from the pictures that we've seen, it looks pretty darn cool.
Yeah, no, I think it definitely has the cool factor. Even some of the stuff that we saw from like SpaceX was originally playing in this field years ago, trying to come up with like better designs and more approachable designs to these type of things. I'd be very curious to know Oakley's larger role in this, because it's interesting to see here for the listeners, for us to read the metrics that these things have to live up to. And as I'm reading this, I'm like, I didn't know Oakley knew how to do that. You know what I mean? Like, I know they know how to make a good pair of sunglasses, but when you start getting into features of high definition optics, gold coating and dust resistance and deployable design, I'm like, what is Oakley hiding? Like, you know?
What have they been working on with their Skunkworks team? Well, I think that a lot of this is geared towards the fact that space commerce, the space economy will be massive, depending on a lot of things, but it could be massive. If Oakley is the Visor to use, right? If there's more missions, if there's more space tourism, all these sorts of things, they become the brand that has the experience. So I'm really interested in seeing how this progresses as well.
I am too. That list of features was like, man, I want a pair of those. That doesn't sound bad.
I want a pair of those visors. And actually, it's perfect because we have an interview coming up in a couple weeks with Thierry Klein from Nokia Bell Labs. I'm Nokia Bell Labs Futurist in Residence. It's a partnership that I have with them. And we are going to be talking about space technology and space infrastructure. Because I truly do believe that it's not only about the rockets, it's also about this infrastructure and the communications that we're going to have between Earth and space, Earth and the moon, and Earth and Mars, wherever else we go. So it'll be interesting to hear Nokia's perspective because they're really doing amazing work. Like I said, they put the first network on the moon. There's an actual cellular network on the moon. Like, how cool is that?
Nokia is one of the most innovative. I mean, when VR content first came out, they were first to market with one of the most amazing cameras at the time. Today, we wouldn't look at it and think anything of it. But in 2015, 2016, when that Nokia 360 camera came out, that was mind-blowing. And no other company had the guts. Canon didn't have the guts to do it. Nikon didn't have the guts to do it. All of a sudden, Nokia was back with a vengeance doing like 360 cameras and no one else knew how to do them.
It was expensive. I remember it was like really expensive. I would see it out and I'd be like, ooh, don't touch it or do anything to it because it's an expensive camera.
Yeah. I got to do one project with one time and it was just as a rental. And it was, our camera people had to go through training.
Yeah, I bet.
It was so far back in the day. They are a very forward-thinking company.
So before we end up, I want to have one more piece of news that I think is really relevant. And you and I have kind of firsthand experience with some of this. So this is from an article from Business Insider talking about the Gen Z Minecraft obsession actually turning into tech careers. It interviewed developers that now have studios that are either working inside Minecraft or people that were developing in Minecraft that now have gaming studios. You and I, when we worked together at Journey, we kind of led a 40-person gaming studio of sorts. I don't remember the amount, but 40 or so people, right, across multiple places. But a lot of them were millennials, but a lot of them were Gen Z.
Yeah, a lot of them were very young, like fresh out of college. And we were doing a lot in Roblox, to be fair. We were doing some in Fortnite, a lot of Roblox work. And we couldn't easily hire more senior development members because they hadn't used the Roblox development tools. Whereas these fresh out of college graduates, they grew up their favorite game being Roblox. People don't realize how long Roblox has actually been around. I think it was like 2007 is when it like launched. And so a lot of these college graduates, they grew up all knowing how to develop in Roblox when they were in high school or even middle school for many of them. So by the time they were out of college and they had a computer science degree in their back pocket, they were wizards at developing inside of these platforms. And we had to hire them over more senior developers who maybe came from a more traditional game engine background because we weren't working in that traditional game engine. So yeah, I can totally see, okay, we need to build a marketing tool inside of Minecraft. Who am I going to hire? Well, I'm not going to go hire a Unity developer. I'm not going to go hire, You're
going to hire kids like my son and his friends and an amount of time there creating their own servers and creating their own experiences. And I think that's really interesting because you remember we actually built offices. We've had offices in Roblox, in Fortnite. We had like a whole bunch of virtual offices. And I remember saying we should use these offices for interviews. Like we should be interviewing inside the platform to really see, hey, how would you build this differently or things like that. So I think finding those native creators, right, in those platforms is critical.
Yeah. And I think that that's been true for the gaming industry for a very long time. I mean, okay, you like video games as a kid. I'm going back to the 90s here. No one really thought, oh, well, there was a job in video games for when you get older, which I don't know why. Like hindsight being 2020, thinking as an adult and looking at the industry, I kind of feel like, well, if a kid likes playing video games in 1993, then this is probably going to be an industry that still exists in 2023. Maybe that kid should focus on computer science if he really likes video games so he can go work in video games. And that just was not the conversation most families were having back in the 90s, right? Like, there's no future in video games. You got to go figure out something else. And normally they suggested something that probably doesn't exist today, but that's life.
Yeah, I wasn't going to share this one, but I think this one's interesting. This is about, are you ready to find love in Roblox? The gaming platform's cooking up a dating feature. You and I have talked about this many times about how many people are meeting in gaming. David Basuki, the CEO, had actually talked about this in one of the Roblox developers conferences, but he recently mentioned, he said this on the Tech Staff podcast, I think a lot of people who are too afraid to go on real life dates might find it easier to have a virtual date to start, and then if they connect, move to the physical world. I'm 100% aligned with that. I pitched that kind of startup last year, actually, but I'm probably going to go on a date in Roblox. I think I want to build something in Roblox for dating. I think it's a great platform to do it. But I also want to, as one of my experiments, I will go on a date in Roblox.
Well, I think Roblox has a bit of a marketing problem in the non-Roblox user community, meaning everyone's heard of the term, right? Like my parents have heard the term Roblox. They might not know what it is, but my nephew grew up playing it, and so they definitely heard about it. And so there's this inherent thought process of Roblox is a bunch of kids. Don't get me wrong, it is. But when they rolled out their 18 and up platform changes, that raised a lot of eyebrows because society still had this in their head that, well, wait, I thought, why would you put an 18 and up section for a video game aimed at very little kids? Because those very little kids aren't little kids anymore. They're now graduating college. I know this because I just hired them. And they're functioning adults in society who have social lives. And even in this process, a lot of them did for a number of years go through a pretty intense COVID lockdown and are used to interacting online. This is no longer the weird taboo that I think it was once. And just society, I feel like, hasn't wrapped their head fully around this idea that Roblox is growing up with their user base. They're still trying to grow a user base, but it's growing up with their user base at the same time. Nintendo did that. A good video game company does that. They figure out how to do just that. I think anyone who's in entertainment has to learn how to grow up with their audience. How many Disney stars have turned into mega pop stars?
Yeah, Miley Cyrus. I mean, so many.
Justin Timberlake. I mean, the list goes on and on. Ryan Gosling. Like, you grow up with your audience. And I think that that's true for what Roblox is doing. I think they're smart for doing it, and I think it'll work.
I want to build something, so... Anyway, so that's the end of the show. Lee, what are you recommending? I'll be honest, I am not reading anything right now. I was on the beach, chilling, listening to podcasts.
I don't have a recommendation either. And the reason being is because I've been traveling with my family so much that I've not had a chance to listen to any new music. I've picked up a couple of new books. I'm reading this fantastic sci-fi novel called Babel, but I'm not going to go into it very deeply until I finish it. But so far, I'm absolutely loving it. It looks like it's going to be a really fun read. But other than that, I've just been kind of like getting through summer, which, by the way, we should mention the next episode will be our last of the season. And then through the month of August, we are running best ofs because we're going on our summer vacation to our listeners. And then we will be going on to our third season together.
Oh, it's crazy, right?
It's crazy.
Thanks to everyone that's been listening and staying with us the whole way. And it's going to be better. I mean, we're going to try to do more lives. And
yes.
And we do have one of the episodes while we're on break is going to be an episode of Adspeak, which is one of Adweek's other podcasts. So we will have that as well. And it's a really relevant one that I think folks are going to enjoy listening to. So read us out.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in to Tech Magic, where we always invite you to come for the tech, stay for the magic. I'm Lee Keebler here with the incredible Cathy Hackle. Special thanks, as always, to Adweek for bringing this show to you. If you'd enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review. Let us know your thoughts. We'd love to connect with you. Just search for Tech Magic, Cathy Hackle, or me, Lee Keebler, and you will find us. Also, be sure to check out our new Substacks. Cathy's will be packed full of insights that we discussed here on the show and her own personal articles that will be coming out at a regular pace. Mine will have all the links to the stories that we covered today and behind-the-scenes clips that you may have missed. Just search for us on Substack, and you'll find us there as well. We will be back next week.
Are your ad campaigns lighting up the dashboard, but not the pipeline? That's bullspend, and marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
My boss asked for results, so I opened my dashboard for the only positive-sounding metric I had: impressions.
Cut the bull spend. See revenue, not just reach. LinkedIn delivers the highest return on ad spend of major ad networks. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, Yetis, this is Nick and Jack from the Best One Yet podcast. Now, the last company we worked at, they used Paylocity and everything just worked. It wasn't until launching our own media business, this show, that we realized how rare that is.
Because Paylocity is one delicious burrito of operational needs. They roll up HR, finance, and IT seamlessly into one delicious bite.
When everything wraps together like that all at once, your workforce, your tech stack, your business, you don't need more tools. You don't even need cilantro.
You need one solution.
And that is why Paylocity built a single platform to connect HR, finance, and IT with AI-driven insights and automated workflows that simplify the complex and power what's next.
Or as we call it, a delicious operational burrito.
Yes, we do. Experience a one place for all your HCM needs, besties.
So start now at Paylocity.com/one.
Paylocity.com/ONE.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.